2026. I call this meeting to order. Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the United States of America. Okay. Up next on the agenda is roll call. Ms. Martinez.
All councilors present and a quorum has been declared.
Okay, thank you. Up next, we have the agenda approval. Councilor Yarnville.
Mayor, I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, please start voting. Ms. Martinez.
The motion carried unanimously.
Okay, thank you. Up next, we have the citizen comment. This is the segment of the agenda to where we have those who have filled out their comment cards. They'll have an opportunity to come up to the podium and speak into the mic and make your comments. We do ask that you keep your comments to within 3 minutes. We have a clock where we time everyone. If you're still talking at the 3-minute mark, we will politely ask you to stop making your comments at that particular time. During the comment section, we do not encourage any type of clapping or jeering or cheering, because when people are making their comment, it could cause them to lose their train of thought. And we also practice civility here, where we're mindful, respectful of what people have to say. With that being said, the first person I have is Levi. Yeah, it needs to turn red. There you go.
Okay.
You got it.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council. First and foremost, I would like to apologize for my behavior and outburst at the last work session last month. I do apologize for that. Second, I do think there are some relationships tied to the original Dark Sky Initiative that have not been clearly communicated to the public. The initiative itself was grant funded. Danny was the president of Dark Sky Colorado during the process. Rachel served on the board of SLV Go. Her husband served as the finance director of SLV Go. Council, if you did not know that, those are just important things to note. I'm not bringing it up to attack anyone, but I am bringing it up because transparency matters in public policy discussions. I'm going to skip forward a little bit, but let's see. So removing lumen limits for internally illuminated signs is the right move. Those signs are fully shielded by design, and treating them differently than general outdoor lighting makes sense. I also appreciate the increase from 3,000 Kelvin to 5,000 Kelvin. While I still believe many commercial sign systems function best closer to 6,000 to 7,000 Kelvin for accurate whites and color consistency, this is still a substantial improvement and far more workable standard for businesses. I do want to address one issue that I don't believe is fully reflected in tonight's agenda: the confusion surrounding the building-mounted electronic message centers. Over the last several years, there's been significant uncertainty about with the code language. I've installed a few of them, and now we have it where we can't install them on buildings because of an interpretation. Examples already exist in the community where building-mounted electronic signage has previously been approved. So I would encourage council to make the intent explicit in the final ordinance language so future enforcement remains clear and consistent. I'm a proponent of being able to have them on buildings. I believe if we are going over this little bit of the signage code, and that was part of the work session, hopefully we can get that potentially into the second reading. We can move that forward a little bit more. Good code should not depend on who happens to be interpreting it at the time. Finally, I think this ordinance is moving toward much better balance. Protecting our night skies matters. Economic activity matters too. And those goals don't have to conflict. Thank you. And again, I apologize for the last meeting.
Thank you. Up next, I have James Billings.
Hello. I want to go a little bit further about the night sky. Beata, I believe, researched it And in Colorado, there's 4 mountain towns with, I believe, under 100 people or under 400 people that have night skies in the mountain. I feel that the city shouldn't restrict people for leaving their lights on all night. I feel that it's up to the people. If there's a security issue and they want to leave their lights on all night, so be it. I'm good with the Kelvin rating. I'm good with the lumen rating, but I think it's up to the citizen whether they want their lights on at night or not. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. So Ms. Martinez, I don't have any more comment cards, so if you could give the audience members who are participating on Zoom instructions of how to raise their hands to make comments during this segment, I would appreciate it.
Yes, sir. If you're on the Zoom app and you want to speak for public comment right now, you'll use the raise hand feature in the bottom of your screen. If you're on a telephone, you're going to dial *9. Okay, Mayor, I don't see anyone choosing to raise their hand.
Okay, I don't see any hands raised either, so we'll go ahead and close out the citizen comment, and I'll turn it back over to staff for any further comments.
Thank you, Mayor.
Welcome.
And as you know, this is on the agenda later on. So any of the comments related to the technicalities of the sign code, Ms. James can cover that as part of her presentation. I do want to make it clear, as we shared in the work session, that the wall-mounted message centers will come back before council, and we're doing some cleanup. I believe that's scheduled for June and July. There is an interpretation issue, and unfortunately, if pushed, the city attorney would probably land on the side that nobody wants. So we do think that there needs to be cleanup in order to allow them, which I think is what everybody wants. And that will be staff's recommendation coming up in that June, July timeframe. So I do want to share that. The other part, though, that's not necessarily specific to the details of the sign code is just to express my extreme disappointment of Mr. Wilner's insistence on bringing up Rachel and her husband's connections to SLV Go, even though I've shared with him in our communications that Rachel was single-handedly the one person that prevented this item coming before City Council for about 2 years. She wasn't sure that this was a right fit for the community from a dark sky. She wasn't sure if there was desire in the community to have a dark sky ordinance. And so she pushed back on SLV Go to encourage them to do outreach and education and to determine if there was a desire. And even after explaining that, it's just disappointing that someone would want to cast shade on someone's professional standards to insinuate that they are somehow pushing something forward because they've served on another board. I just want to make sure everybody knows that I'm on multiple boards and I'm still capable of being objective as a city manager. And we all knew Ms. James was on the SLV Go board, and we felt it was a compliment to her duties here with the city. So just wanted to express my extreme disappointment that even though this has been explained, there seems to still be some consistent need to cast shade. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, up next on the agenda, we have under ceremonial items. Tonight, we have several ceremonial items, and really looking forward to them. Some of them, we are going to have proclamations read, and on our city council, we rotate council members reading the proclamation so that everyone has an opportunity to read the proclamations and present the proclamations to the recipients. Whenever I call out the group that we're about to read the proclamation for, if you would like to come up to the mic there, we'll allow you to make a few comments, and then we'll have one of the council members read the proclamation and then come down and present it to you. The first proclamation is going to be the Municipal Clerks Week proclamation. And if we can have, I believe I saw all 3 of you all here earlier. There you go. Go that way. And Ms. Martinez, if you would like to make some comments before we start.
Put me on the spot. Okay, sure. I just wanted to take a moment to thank you guys for allowing us to put this proclamation on every year. We don't necessarily like being in the public spotlight. We usually do a lot of work behind the scenes, but we do appreciate you guys taking the time and letting us put this proclamation forward for you all. And I just wanted to say thank you to my team, as without them, our office would not run as efficiently as we do. It takes us all to work together, and I think we have a very efficient office with my team, and I appreciate them very much. So,
Well, thank you, and thank your team for what you do. And did any of you, either you two want to say anything?
I knew they wouldn't.
You're pretty serious about not being in the spotlight, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
Counselor
Clerks like
Carson,
witnesses.
Counselor Carson's gonna read the proclamation. He's gonna come down. We're all gonna present it to you, okay, and take a picture.
The heart of municipality, serving our community with care, dedication, and pride. 57th Annual Professional Municipal Clerks Week. Whereas the Office of the Professional Municipal Clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world, and whereas the Office of the Professional Municipal Clerk is the oldest among public servants, and whereas the Office of the Professional Municipal Clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of government at other levels. And whereas professional municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all. And whereas the professional municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community. And whereas the professional municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the professional municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, provincial, county, and international professional organizations. And whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the professional municipal clerk, now Ty Coleman, the mayor of Alamosa, on behalf of the entire city council, does hereby proclaim week of May 3rd through May 9th, 2026 as Professional Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our professional municipal clerks, Holly Martinez, Susana Gallegos, Ariel Portillo Lawson, and Kenny Ayers, and to all professional municipal clerks for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent. Given under and seal of City Alamosa on this day, 6th of May, 2026.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was gonna let you go first.
Thank you.
Seven more.
Thank you, Counselor Carson. All righty, so the next proclamation is going to be for the Police Week proclamation. If we have a representative from the police department? Yeah, we might have one back there. Yeah. Quite a few.
We just want to say we appreciate you guys recognizing Police Week through this proclamation. It's an important week for our profession, and we hope to see as many people there next week for our police officer memorial on Wednesday. Thank you, guys.
You're welcome. Did anyone else want, are you trying to avoid the spotlight too? Okay. All right, good deal. So, we'll go ahead. Any council members, any comments? No? Okay. All right, Counselor Hensley.
All righty.
We're gonna have Counselor Hensley read the police proclamation tonight. Thank you.
Whereas the Congress and President of the United States have designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day and the week in which it falls as Police Week. And whereas the members of law enforcement and the Alamosa Police Department play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the citizens of Alamosa. And whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the problems, duties, and responsibilities of their police department, and that members of our police department recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence or disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression or intimidation. And whereas the City of Alamosa Police Department has grown to be a modern and scientific law enforcement agency with unceasingly provides a vital public service. And whereas the City of Alamosa Mayor Ty Coleman calls upon all citizens of Alamosa and upon all patriotic, civil, and educational organizations to observe the week of May 11th, 2026 as Police Week with the appropriate ceremonies in which all of our people may join in commemorating police officers, past and present, who by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities have rendered a dedicated service to their communities, and in doing so, have established for themselves an enviable and enduring reputation for preserving the rights and security of all citizens. Further, call upon all citizens of Alamosa to observe Friday, May 15th, 2026 as Peace Officers Memorial Day in honor of those peace officers who through their courageous deeds have lost their lives or have become disabled in the performance of duty. Therefore, Ty Coleman, by the virtue of the authority vested in him as mayor of the City of Alamosa, does hereby honor law enforcement officers across the country, and the Alamosa Police Department, and proudly proclaim the week of May 11th, 2026 as Police Week, dated on May 15th, 2026 as Peace Officers Memorial Day.
Thank you all so much. Thank you, Counselor.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey. All right. Up next, we have a badging ceremony for our fire department officers. Chief?
Council, Mayor, thank you very much for giving us time this evening. I'd like to just basically talk, one of the ceremonies that we do in fire and sometimes in police services is badge new officers and new firefighters. And I'd like to basically talk a little bit. We did a selection process with the retirement of Chief Duarte and also with the creation of the lieutenant's positions through the resolution. We went and interviewed. We did some testing also for the lieutenants. We had a lot of candidates that applied. And we made a selection of 4 folks. But in addition to that, I'd just like to say that those folks that did not get promoted, that it really demonstrated their character and also their dedication, the number of people, because we had 4 for deputy chief, 7 for captain that applied, and 9 for lieutenant. And so there's a bit of a deep bench here for leadership moving up through the department. So at this time, I'd just like to, I'm going to have the officer come up individually, and then the family will pin the badge on the candidate. And then maybe after we're all done, try to get everybody together and do a big group picture. So.
All right, sounds like a great plan, Chief.
So the first person is Deputy Chief Esteban Alonso. I'd like to call him up. Next is Captain John McEwen. Next is Lieutenant Michael Beta. Last but not least is Lieutenant Tyler Cherney. One thing I'd just like to add is the reason I requested the families to be here, and many ceremonies do incorporate the families, is because for them to be dedicated and to support the community like they do, they have to have a strong family and their support. And I think a round of applause is appropriate for the families that support our firefighters in the community. Yeah, I guess if we want to do group picture,
Okay,
we could.
sure. If we can have the family members and the officers come up here, that'd be great. We'll get a group picture. Thank you, Chief.
Let's go down. Come around. That's up, Chris. I'll jump in there.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
I definitely believe that, that's for sure.
All right, Chief, looks like you're up here again for the introduction of the 2026 Fire Explorers.
Yes, the leaders of that program are Deputy Chief Alonso and also Adam Lopez, working through the Boys and Girls Club, has been very instrumental in this program going forward. So we have a cadre of explorers, and I'm going to let Mr. Lopez take the helm here.
Hello, thank you. I want to say thank you to the city, the Boys and Girls Club and SLB RETEC. This is the third year we've got to run this program. We started out with first year with about 8 individuals, then we went to 5, and then this year we're back up to 9. So I'm going to let them all introduce themselves and what grade they're in. And if you want to ask them some questions, feel free to do so.
Okay.
I'm Caden Chong.
You can walk up to the mic and speak into the mic. We greatly appreciate it.
I'm
Thank
Caden
you.
Chong. I'm in the 8th grade. I attend OMS.
Thank you.
My name's Henrik Nilsson. I'm also in 8th grade and also attend OMS.
Thank you.
I'm Sierra Nice. I am also in 8th grade and I also attend OMS.
I'm Nikayla Lopez. I'm in 8th grade and I also attend OMS.
I'm Elijah Swanson. I'm a senior at Center High School.
All right.
I'm Aiden Clark. I'm a sophomore at Alamosa High School.
I'm James Hernandez, and I am a junior at Alamosa High School.
Great.
Real quick before you ask them questions, I've had 3 of them return for this year from last year. We've also taken a step forward for them to actually help teach some of the curriculum and programming that we've done through Firefighter One, so that way they get the opportunity. I feel peer-to-peer mentorship is really well, and it does really well, so that way everybody else understands. So if you have any questions to ask them, feel free.
Yeah, let's. Council members, any question? Okay, Councilor Hensley.
Okay, so any of you can choose to answer, or all of you. My question is, when you started this, what is something now that you're involved in this that you weren't expecting or that surprised you, that kind of pushed you to a limit you weren't expecting that you'd have to push yourself to? At least one of you has to answer.
Just come up to the mic and
I'll answer for them.
Oh.
okay.
Yes, I'm giving them the easy out. So as far as our newer recruits, our explorers on this, last week, 2 weekends ago, actually, we went through air packs with them, and obviously at their age, they're not used to working with weight or anything of that size. So we did experience some difficulties, as some of it was a little bit bigger than what they were. So that is something that we have to adjust to as instructors as well, is their limitations as teenagers. As you've heard, they're all 8th graders. As far as the other 3 at the end who are trying to be shy right now, they are full-born members of our department as far as we're concerned. They show up for our calls, they help whenever possible, and they do more than I could ever have imagined any of our explorers ever doing at this point without being members of our department.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Carson.
I'm not going to ask you guys a question, so I won't put you on the spot. I just wanted to say thank you to the returning explorers. Thank you for being mentors to these new people, to the new recruits, and thank you to the people that signed up, the kids that are at OMS. This is an important gig, and it's really, really awesome to see you guys interested and so invested in protecting your community and the people around you. So thank you guys. That's really awesome. Just wanna say that, and I just wanna give another round of applause.
And looks like I'm just gonna wrap everything up. I don't see any other lights on. Thank you for being so courageous to do what you're doing and thinking about others first. Wish you much success. Thank you.
Thank
Thank Okay. We'll wait till the room clears a little bit and we'll go to the next item. Okay, looks like the next item on the agenda, we have a proclamation for the Historic Preservation Month proclamation, and I believe this one is going to be read by Councilor Jan Vigil.
Thank you, Mayor.
Welcome.
Proud to announce this tonight. Don Thompson, you want to take the podium? And Mr. Thompson, could you just say a few words? We'd really appreciate it.
Why, thank you. Looks like I'm the only one here this evening. The month of May, Historic Preservation Month, gives us an opportunity to talk historic preservation and thank the city for how gorgeous I think our downtown looks. When I'm at the Welcome Center and somebody comes in who's been walking around downtown and tells me that they find it interesting and are appreciative of our historic buildings, it gives me a little inner glow, and I hope it does you also when you go through downtown and see the historic buildings that we have. I think we have like 26 on the list right now. So I thank City Council for taking the suggestions of the Historic Preservation Advisory Committee. I don't think you've turned us down yet, and I'm fingers crossed. To talk about Alamosa as the home of school desegregation is something which also, and you're naming Zapata Park, Zapata Historic Park. I surely appreciate that. So thank you, City Council.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Don. Historic Preservation Month Proclamation, May 2026. Whereas the City of Alamosa, in celebration of the month of May as Archaeology and Historic Preservation Month, recognizes that historic sites and structures in the community are symbols of our heritage and valuable assets to the quality of life in our community. These structures anchor our downtown, our residential areas, and the larger community, upholding the native character of our city and instilling civic pride by virtue of their very presence. Their potential as resources and attractors for heritage tourism is great. The events, businesses, and experiences these sites have hosted connect us to one another and form a vital part of the fabric of our community. And whereas Alamosa's many historic structures represent a diversity of economic and architectural trends that are integral to the past and future development of this great community founded 134 years ago. The city is actively engaged in recognizing these emblems of our heritage through the Alamosa Historic Registry. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Mayor Ty Coleman and the City Council of Alamosa proclaim the month of May 2026 as Historic Preservation Month and encourage its citizens to advance historic preservation activities in the community.
Thank you, Councilor Jan Vigil. We'll go down and take a picture. Don, we're gonna take a picture with you. There you go.
One, two, three.
Okay, the next proclamation is Mental Health Month Proclamation. And I know we have some of our participants here tonight. So council, I believe they share with us these gifts, and I'll pass them down to council. Thank you all for sharing this with us. I wanted to make sure everyone knew that you presented us with this. I'll start it that way. If you would like to say a few words, and then tonight, that proclamation is going to be read by Councilor Krebs.
Thank you. Well, I likewise want to just extend our gratitude and thank you for this recognition and the proclamation. May is an important month for us in the mental health field. It gives us an opportunity to recognize and appreciate our staff who provide these services with passion and mission-driven approach. It is also a really important month for us to be able to provide education, advocacy, and awareness around mental health to our community, and to really promote that mental health is part of overall health and well-being and the importance that it plays in our communities and our outreach, how we stay connected. And so in critical times like this, I think it's really important that we have this recognition. So thank you again.
You're welcome. Did you too? No, you're good? Okay, all right. Okay, Councilor Krebs,
Thank you, Mayor.
welcome.
Proclamation, May Mental Health Month, recognizing May as Mental Health Month. Whereas mental health is essential to the overall health and well-being of every person in Alamosa, regardless of age, race, gender, identity, socioeconomic status, or background. And whereas mental health conditions are real and prevalent in our community, affecting 1 in 5 people each year and touching nearly every household. And whereas the COVID-19 pandemic, economic uncertainty, isolation, and ongoing challenges have exacerbated mental health needs in the San Luis Valley and beyond. And whereas stigma remains one of the biggest barriers to individuals seeking help, leading too many to suffer in silence. And whereas early intervention, equitable access to mental health care, and community-wide understanding are key to improving outcomes and saving lives. And whereas San Luis Valley Behavioral Health Group and its partners are committed to providing compassionate, confidential, and culturally responsive behavioral health services throughout the region. And whereas during Mental Health Month, we join with national, state, and local efforts to raise awareness, reduce stigma, and support the mental wellness of all San Luis Valley residents. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of Alamosa, Colorado does hereby proclaim May 2026 as Mental Health Month in Alamosa and encourages all citizens, businesses, schools, and community organizations to learn more, speak up, and support mental health initiatives.
Thank you, Counselor Krebs. Thank you. All righty. Brings us to the next item on the agenda, consent calendar A. Counselor Yonvihu.
Mayor, I move that we approve consent calendar A.
Second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, please start voting. Ms. Martinez?
The motion carried unanimously.
Okay. Up next on the agenda, under regular business, presentations from outside agencies. And the first one is from the Bicycle Coalition.
Good evening. My name is Liz Breckbill, and I'm the Executive Director of the Alamosa Bicycle Coalition. We are so grateful to have been recipients of the city's Vulnerable Populations Grant, and I'm here to report a little bit about what we were able to accomplish in 2025 with this grant. The largest program that these funds supported were our bicycle referral program. In this program, our staff refurbishes donated bicycles, which are then given out for free to community members in need. We work closely with partner organizations such as La Puente, Center for Restorative Programs, Tu Casa, as well as several others. These partner organizations refer clients to us who are in need of reliable and affordable transportation. In 2025, we were able to provide 172 bicycles to adults and youth in our community. With each bicycle that we gave out, we also supplied a helmet, bike lock, and bike lights. Clients who received bicycles from this program frequently noted getting to work, grocery shopping, and attending individual appointments as ways in which the bicycles improved their lives. Along with supporting our bicycle referral program, these funds help to support our work with the Boys and Girls Club of the San Luis Valley and the Alamosa School District to provide bicycle-related fifth-day programming for students and youth. This programming includes bicycle rodeos, weekly youth rides, and larger community bike ride events. Bicycle rodeos are small obstacle courses for young cyclists, which are used to teach new and beginning riders the basics of bicycle handling. In 2025, we hosted several of these rodeos at the Rio Grande Farm Park, as well as at the Alamosa Family Recreation Center. Fifth-day programming rides take place during spring and fall semesters and consists of 8 to 12 youth joining the ABC staff to ride on the levees around the Rio Grande or around the disc golf course for about 2 hours each Friday morning for several weeks. These rides encourage bicycling as a fun form of exercise and also as an enjoyable way to socialize and spend time with friends outdoors. Additionally, in 2025, ABC collaborated with the Boys and Girls Club and the Alamosa Parks and Rec to host a Halloween bike ride. We had about 100 people attend this, and we look forward to planning another one this year. During 2025, we also had well over 200 visits to our open community bike shop. Our shop provides the tools, space, resources, and instruction that are needed for community members to come in and work on their own personal bicycles. The funds that we received from the City of Alamosa allowed us to continue our focus of providing reliable and affordable transportation to our community, while also engaging with youth in the outdoor spaces and encouraging bicycling. If you have not been to our shop before, we are located directly behind Hobbytown on Main Street, and we would love to have you come visit, check out our shop, and even work on a bicycle if you would like. On June 24th, we are also having a bike to work event, which I know our Mayor Ty Coleman has attended in the past. It will be at 7 a.m. at Zapata Park. There will be free breakfast burritos, and we'll be working with folks to sign up their bicycles and get them registered with the police department. We would love to see you guys there if you're able to join. Thank you again to the City of Alamosa for these funds. We are grateful for the way in which you support the Alamosa Bicycle Coalition along with our community. And thank you so much for your time. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Good presentation.
Thanks.
Okay, do we have any comments or questions from council? Well, I just want to say thank you so very much for what you all do. You really help out in the community a lot, and it really feels good seeing a lot more people riding their bikes out there. So, and hopefully I'll see you all out there again for the burrito.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next presentation is from the Boys and Girls Club. Thank you.
made you guys cute little folders. Check that out.
Yeah, I like the blue.
Yeah. Color coordinated today.
Yeah, it's good.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council, for inviting me to talk a little bit about the Boys and Girls Clubs of the San Luis Valley. As you know, we're a longstanding partner with the city in this community. I'm here to share with you today our 2025 Club Impact. The Boys and Girls Clubs of the San Luis Valley serves, as you all know, as a critical partner to the city of Alamosa, moving beyond the traditional role of a service provider or out-of-school time provider to act instead as a cornerstone of community resilience. Our strategic framework of hope and belonging is the foundation for regional youth development, providing a structured environment where young people grow into thriving, engaged citizens. By addressing the social determinants of health and strengthening protective factors, Boys and Girls Clubs of the San Luis Valley ensures that our next generation of Alamosans are prepared to contribute to a stable and prosperous future. BGC SLV partners with the city, schools, and many other organizations, along with families, to ensure that young people have the opportunity necessary to thrive. Together, we're building a community where every child has the safety and support needed to reach their full potential. And this impact is best understood through the hard data that defines the club's daily reach and the measurable differences we make in the lives of local families. These metrics that you're looking at represent more than just volume. They represent the successful mitigation of factors like isolation, toxic stress through structured, relationship-rich environments. These figures instead reflect a high yield return on community-wide outcomes. I'm just going to highlight a few of them. The first and probably most important in my world right now is the Early Care and Learning Center. Just in terms of scale, this is a 17,600 square foot state-of-the-art facility featuring 10 modern classrooms with the capacity to serve 160 children, and it will transform generations of families' lives in our community. We have a workforce readiness program building momentum. We've already achieved 90% of our goal to place 78 learners in paid healthcare and high-demand internships just this year. Our prevention reach is over 2,000 community members, led by teen prevention members and interns across 35 community events. We have over 25 young people who've been served through our homelessness programs with a 75% permanent housing outcome. That means 75% of those 25 young people have achieved permanent housing through our program. And this is one I'm most proud of, 100% safety rate for youth following suicide ideation because of safety plans with mental health providers. So thanks to that work of our professionals and trauma-informed folks and folks like Victoria and the behavioral health group, we've achieved 100% safety rate for our young people. These numbers are made possible through targeted, pillar-based programs designed to meet the specific needs of our young people. We operate a multi-tiered model that addresses the root causes of community challenges by expanding beyond traditional care into specialized lanes like workforce readiness, family stability. We reduce the long-term pressure on municipal public systems and on law enforcement. The ECLC transforms a child care desert into a premier learning hub for Alamosa's youngest residents. It addresses the critical shortage of spots across the 6 rural counties officially designated as a child care desert, allowing parents to return to the workforce while up to 160 infants and preschoolers receive foundational support. The 5th Day Learning Program secures a safe and productive environment. You heard Liz talk a little bit about that for students during the district's 4-day school week. In collaboration with Alamosa School District, we provide free Friday programming that includes outdoor adventures and extended learning, ensuring that young people remain engaged and supervised when our schools are closed. Our workforce pathways interrupt the cycle of generational hopelessness by transitioning youth into productive adults. The Launchpad initiative allows teens to gain real-world skills and certification, such as CNAs and medical assistantship, and they solve real community problems while being paid and getting academic credit for their work. We have Prevention and Youth Voice that empowers the San Luis Valley youth teen prevention community to lead community-wide safety initiatives. Teen interns facilitate essential conversations on bullying, healthy relationships, and safety, turning personal belonging into active agency and contributing to city's well-being. Our family and housing stability secures wraparound supports that address the social determinants of health for vulnerable families. The club acts as a stable home base, offering housing assistance and crisis intervention that ensures economic instability does not prevent a child from succeeding in school and in life. The future of Alamosa depends on our shared stewardship of our most valuable resource, our youth. When young people have safe places, when they have trusted adults, when they have real opportunities, Alamosa is stronger. BGC SLV is proud to keep building that future along with the city, along with schools, our business and community partners and families. And together we ensure that hope and belonging are not just concepts, but the daily experience of every child in our valley. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this impact report. Let me see if we have any council members who would like to make any comments. Councilor Hensley.
I just want to thank you and your team for everything you do. You make a huge difference in our community. I also can really, having seen my two grandchildren and each of them being very different people and both of them really enjoying going to Boys and Girls Club and what a difference it's made in their life. And then all of their friends and the different people that are there. And one of the things that all of this is so true, but the thing that I really love is that every person that's there is each an individual, and teaching them all to appreciate and respect each other and all the differences and things like that. And it makes it so they want to come back. It's not where they have to go because they have to go there. It really is something that they're part of something special, and it's going to be with them for the rest of their life. So I just really wanted to share that, and it makes a huge difference in our community.
Thank you, Council. I can't wait to see MJ flying a plane on Friday. Yeah. It's gonna be great.
Okay. Councilor Avil. Jackie, come.
Your lights.
I've been watching the building go up little by little because I live right across the street, and it's just amazing what it looks like now. And my question, when do you anticipate opening the early learning center?
Yeah, it's a great question. They will be open August 3rd for pilot enrollment. So they'll have small classes and a small staff ready to go. I think it really is going to be August 20th, their official first day, but we're going to have staff in the building August 3rd. And then we're hoping for full enrollment by January of 2027.
Great job. I mean, it's something that the community really needed.
Yeah, we did it together, Councilor Behill.
Thank you, Councilor Jackie Vio. Councilor Jan Vio.
Thank you, Mayor. She stole my question. When were you going to open up? But just kudos to you and all that you do. You're an asset to our community, and the Boys and Girls Club is filling a major need for the Valley. Thank you.
I appreciate that, but that would not be at all possible without the incredible team, my co-executive director, and all of you as community partners that really work to make this possible. I was at a meeting with Mayor Coleman earlier today, and that was the highlight of the whole conversation, that we do things in this community together. It's never a single entity or a single individual that achieves anything. Together, everybody achieves more.
Awesome, awesome. I couldn't have said it any better. Thank you, Aaron, and thank you for everything that you do. And a lot of you, I toured the Boys and Girls Club building once, and one of the things that's touched me is the attention to details in that building. They have a section where the little babies who crawl, those floors are heated, radiant floor heating, so that when they're crawling, it's not cold, but it's warm. And little things like that make a big difference. And I just want to thank you and your team for all the little details. And you could tell them a little bit about some of the features in the building as well.
Yeah, I think some of my favorites, we had caregivers. We originally designed the parking lot across the street, and caregivers said, you know, it's a lot to lug that car seat, 30 pounds or so from the edge of this parking lot every day into the building. Wouldn't it be nice if we could just pull our cars up for a little drop-off or pickup slot? And so we built that in. There's a 10-car short-term parking to drop off. We had a lot of caregivers say, wouldn't it be nice if I don't know if you all have children these days, but you have a base and then you have a car seat that goes on your base. Wouldn't it be great if we had a place where we could just keep the car seat in the center? So if my husband or wife or grandparents gonna pick up, we don't have to swap that on our own. So we have a little corral where those can stay. We had early childhood professionals who said, we spend hours of our day lining kids up, walking them down to a restroom to wash their hand before every meal, every snack, to go to the bathroom a couple times during the day. It would save us so much time and headache if we could just have those available in our classrooms. So we built little restrooms in each of those, little hand washing stations in each of those classrooms. And none of it was cheap, but it all shows our community investment into how much we care for the details for our children and families.
Thank you. Thank you so very much, and we appreciate everything you do, my friend.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
Thank you. Okay, Council, that brings us to the next item on the agenda. Under Public Works, approval of resolution number 7-2026, a resolution setting forth streets to be addressed in the event the dedicated street sales tax is approved by the voters in November 2026 general election, and a schedule for addressing such streets.
Mayor, thank you. And I think you guys are going to get tired of me talking about this, but obviously this is a very big deal for our community. It's a very big deal for keeping up with our infrastructure. And so anytime we are talking about this topic in a public meeting, we want to make sure that we're doing it comprehensively so that the full message is getting across in case someone is tuning in for the first time and this is the first time they're hearing about a dedicated sales tax. So I apologize, but this is going to be a very similar presentation. So from a bit of a recap, City Council created in 2019 a Citizen Street Committee. The purpose of that Citizen Street Committee was to help identify streets that council was then planning to take to the voters to approve a dedicated sales tax. And there's several key aspects that council wanted to put into this process to ensure accountability and to ensure that these streets that are selected come from a community-driven process. And so that first step was the creation of that Citizen Street Committee. In 2019, it involved 2 volunteers from each ward. It involved 2 volunteers at large, and it involved 2 volunteers that represented a business owner, major employer, economic development, chamber, that type of background. And then that committee held a few different meetings. They did a lot of homework, drove a lot of streets, prioritized. And as they worked through that, they first identified 80 streets that they felt needed to be repaired, which added up to about almost 22 miles. They then prioritized that down to 16 streets to recommend to City Council to be funded by that 10-year dedicated sales tax, which amounted to about 7.5 miles, which is about 12% of the streets. They also recommended that we increase the amount that we dedicate towards the sidewalk and the maintenance program. So previously it had been approximately $220,000. They recommended that that be increased up to $400,000. When that came before City Council, you held a work session and you essentially adopted most of those recommendations. You kind of looked at maybe some timing changes in some of the streets. And then also, as council discussed equity between some of the different wards and areas of the community, you identified some of the first year's overlay projects type of situation. So that is what happened back in 2019. The next step that council did, and this tied into the accountability to the public, and that was adopt resolution 13-2019. What this resolution did was lock in those streets, and we'll kind of go through what those streets were. And then when we took the language in the ballot language to the voters, it referenced this resolution. And what that meant from an accountability perspective is even if City Council were to change within those 10 years, the streets were not going to change. So that way voters would know what they were voting on wasn't going to change if council changed or priorities changed for the city or different things like that. And we felt that that was a very big accountability piece. We also put in there the annual 400,000 for the sidewalk and the overlay. And so as we rolled this presentation out to the community, one of the things we wanted to highlight is what the difference would be of what streets would get done if the tax passed versus if the tax did not pass. And so this is an example of how big of a deal the sales tax passing was. So the streets we were able to accomplish from a reconstruction perspective and overlay, the streets between 2020 and 2023, you can see we've got some overlay with State Avenue, 14th Street, but then we tried to finish out First Street for 3 phases, the 12th Street overlay, and then we began on State Avenue with 2 phases. If that sales tax would not have been passed, we would have worked on First Street. The next grouping of time, the streets between 2024 and 2027, we were able to do Victoria, Washington, we're doing Pike now, La Vida, 2nd Street, West 6th Street, and 7th Street. And then again, if the tax would not have been passed, we would have finished up First, and we would have begun on State Avenue. And then the next time frame from 2028 through 2030, Poncha, West 7th, Tremont, Maroon Drive, Graff, and Alamosa Avenue. Again, if the tax would not have been passed, we would still have been working on State Avenue. So essentially during that time frame, we would have done 2 streets instead of all the streets that we just listed. The resolution also addressed if there was funds remaining at the end. This is if Harry and his crew were able to keep costs in line, if our contractors were able to keep their costs reasonable, if the economy would be reasonable, if we were to get grants, if sales tax would outperform. There's a lot of different things that could have happened. So if there were funds remaining, these were the streets that were identified that would look at being pulled up. And so Thomas Avenue at this point in time is scheduled to be completed. So not only did we get through all the streets, we were able to pull one up by the time this sales tax is done. As I referred to it earlier, when we passed the ballot language, it referred to resolution number 13-2019. So this was the legal language that locked in those streets. The second accountability issue is that it sunsets. It's a 10-year sales tax, which means if we do not perform as we promise, if we do not meet the public expectations, then they don't extend the sales tax. It ends. And so that's another key part from an accountability perspective. So the current dedicated tax is going to end December 31st, 2029. And so I realize it's 2026. And the question might be, why are we looking at taking this to the voters this year? Part of the answer to that is because when it comes to street construction, we need over a 2-year lead time in order to get it engineered and designed, in order to get that design to our utility partners so they can make changes that then leads up to the time we're actually breaking ground. So there does need to be at least a 2-year, if not a little bit more lead time to allow us to do this in a non-rushed environment. So the question that council has talked about is for a renewal of the exact same tax, no change to that. And we would want to bring it to the voters this November in 2026. It again would have a 10-year sunset. So we would keep that accountability perspective, just like you guys kept the Citizen Street Committee aspect of it as well. We anticipate that it will generate approximately $2.1 million annually. And then the tax would be effective, the new tax, January 1st. So there's no overlap, there's no double taxation. It would be just seamless. Once the first one ends, the next one would take over the next day. So from a street fact perspective, this is what prompted the first effort to take this to the voters, and the situation hasn't magically resolved itself, so that's why we want to take an extension. We have a lot of roads. We have almost 65 miles of roads. From here to Walsenburg is 72 miles. So that's visually almost how many roads we have is from here to Walsenburg. We anticipate that about a quarter of our streets need to be rebuilt. Now, when we brought this to the voters in 2019, the approximate cost per block was about $300,000. Construction inflation has occurred, and now it costs approximately $540,000. So it is more expensive to do the same type of work. As a reminder, the new roads should last about 15 to 20 years. And then if we can do other treatments like the slurry seals and some of those things, it extends it even more type of thing. We feel like this is a good visual to help understand the impact of the dedicated sales tax. We were limping along from 2009 to kind of 2018, 2019. There are a little bit of some grants thrown in there, but you can see it shoots up with our ability with that dedicated sales tax. But then there's the dire situation that if it's not renewed, it drops down to where we're looking at maybe 300,000. If we connect the dots to the previous slide, if it cost 540,000 per block and we only have 300,000 a year, that means we'll do maybe a block every other year type of situation. So this map is to give an idea of all different types of street improvements for the last 15 years. I know a lot of times we talk about equity of projects across the community. So this includes streets that the city has built. It includes streets that have been improved. And it also includes streets that developers might have been building as we experience new development. And so we just like to make sure when we're looking at the last 15 years, where has the street activity occurred in our community? This next map is to show when we're looking just at the street trust fund and what's been done so far. The blue is what is yet to be done, and then the green is what has been completed thus far. So you can see we still have some blue because again, this goes until the end of 2029, but there's green in there, and it's, you know, in a lot of different areas within the community. This next slide is to start leading into the work that your Citizen Street Committee did this year. So between the last time we did this and this time, Public Works now has a software program that can take into account the pavement condition. And we had a consultant go out and they drove all the streets and they look at a lot of different factors to then plug into rating our streets on fair, poor. They have better ratings, but I didn't think we needed to show you the streets that are in good condition since we're not interested in fixing those. But if you look at the streets based on that software that are in fair, poor, or they're failing, you can see that we've got a lot of them still in our community. So, similar to 2019, Council once again felt that it was very important to have the prioritization of the streets come from a citizen advisory perspective. At the Citizen Street Committee, their first meeting, we kind of went over a very similar presentation. We also had Ray there, who is our expert on streets, and explained the different types of damage that happens to streets, how they break down. So this way, when the committee was out driving the streets, they could kind of do it with a little bit of an understanding. We went through the purpose of the committee. We talked about street facts, and then we assigned the homework, which is go out and identify what you feel are needed street improvements. And we tried to give them all the information anyone could possibly want. So they had the traffic counts, they had the pavement condition, I don't, it was information overload. But our direction to them was they could base their opinions on whatever they wanted. So if we had individuals that are very data driven, by all means, here's all the data you would want on the condition of the streets and the traffic models and all of that. But if we had individuals that felt that there was other priorities, if their sister lived on a street and that was important to them, then they can prioritize it that way. The last thing we wanted was for anyone to walk out of these meetings saying that staff was pushing their own prerogative. And so every committee, we wanted to make sure and emphasize that messaging. So they went and they drove all the streets of Alamosa. And they brought that to the second meeting. And we spent that meeting identifying on one map, highlighting all the different streets that the individuals have brought up. They would spend time sometimes explaining why they thought it was important. If there was one that several of them had, they would identify that type of thing. And so we put all of those streets up there. And then what their homework was going to be is that we would send them the streets, and they were going to have to rank those streets. So again, they had to, they could walk or ride a bike, or they could drive all the streets again, and then they had to rank them. And I think it was a ranking from something like 1 through 88 or something like that. So it was a lot of work. And I just emphasize this because even though this committee only had 4 meetings, they did a lot of work. This was a pretty intensive homework thing, and they always deserve a pat on the back for being dedicated and rolling up their sleeves and being committed to the process. And so they went out there and they had to rank all those streets. And then they had to send those to Deacon in advance of the third meeting. And what Deacon took is all of those individual rankings, combined them into what we then call the major group ranking system. So that led into the third meeting. So that's where we started talking about, okay, when we take all your individual rankings, here's how the streets kind of start happening. And it was a lot of streets. And we talked, was there surprises? Do you feel like there's one that should have ranked higher? Is there one that ranks higher than you would have thought? Those types of things. They had those kind of discussions. And then what we needed for them is, okay, we can't cost out all of these. We have some estimates on them, but we can't get hard numbers on 88 streets. So we asked them, where's the line on how we are going to really dig into the cost? And so what they did is they decided to do the top 20, and then there was a few that some of the members felt were important that didn't make that cut, that they decided to go ahead and pull those up. So there's just a handful of those. So on the fourth meeting, we brought all of that back. Deacon had his Excel spreadsheet ready of how much money we have every year, and they then started to plug and play with those streets to see what we could afford, and kind of trying to figure out the different priorities type of situation. So that was their fourth and final meeting, that then they would send that recommendation to you. Still talking a little bit about the Citizen Street Committee, there was some differences you made in 2026. You kept kind of the original composition, but then you added an Alamosa County representative, and then you added a school bus representative. So kind of similar numbers to what we had in 2019. They identified over 70 streets needing repair, and for a total of over 20 miles. They prioritized 12 for construction for that 10-year time frame for about 1.87 miles. And then they also are recommending that we go up again a little bit more for the sidewalk, but mostly the maintenance programming, realizing the more we can extend the life of the streets, the cheaper it is, type of situation. So they have recommended that instead of 400,000 a year, that we would have 500,000. Additionally, once we sat down and the money doesn't go as far, it really was hard because every one of those streets needed to be repaired and just trying to wrap our mind around how can we get more impact for the community. So in addition to those 12 streets that they identified, through discussions with staff on maybe there's some other surface improvements for some of those high priority ones, that if we do a different surface improvement, we can still extend the life and get an impact there. So there were 3 additional streets for other types of surface improvements that were in that top 20 kind of priority type of thing. The other thing that was recommended is, even though this is how we did it the first time, the language wasn't actually in the resolution. And that is that the sales tax will only go towards the street portion of the project cost. The underground utility will be funded by the enterprise fund. So even though that, again, that's how we did it, we didn't have to do it that way. We didn't see an issue with it unless there was going to be a project that had a really big stormwater component to it, but none of those were selected in the recommendation. So we felt comfortable with that language and felt that it gets us to get that tax to extend as much as possible. So the next thing that I was going to show you is, if I go to the map, so this is a visualization, and then I'll go through the actual streets, but this is a visualization of the streets that then are recommended. And so the green is those streets, the 12 streets that are selected for a full rebuild. The blue are those that were selected for a different type of treatment. And then the orangey peach color is those streets that, if there's money left at the end, would get pulled up type of thing. So this gives you a feeling of where they are in the community. But if we go to the resolution, we can kind of just also talk about them specifically. And I don't know if there's a way to make that bigger and then just scroll down to when it starts listing the streets. There you go. So that first time frame, so again, the resolution was set up similar to the last resolution design. So we've got 3 blocks of time so people can have an idea of when these streets might happen. So we've got Alamosa Avenue from 10th Street to 14th Street. We've got a new safety bus pull-off on South Craft Drive at the Tierra Nuevo Apartments. We have 10th Street from Ross Avenue to West Avenue, East Avenue, which is 13th Street to 14th Street, 3rd Street from Richardson Avenue to Alamosa Avenue. The next chunk of time would have 3rd Street from Alamosa Avenue to Hunt Avenue, Crestone Avenue from 2nd Street to Main Street, Hunt Avenue from 4th Street to Main Street. And then that last chunk of time would have the intersection realignment at the 1st Street Pike Murphy intersection. And again, we have language that that's contingent upon property acquisition. And the property acquisition would come from the general fund. El Rio Drive, it doesn't have a cross street, so I couldn't say from this length to this length. So we measured it, Deacon did it. Approximately 750 feet from 1st Street north to where it bends. But you know, this is fun. Carson Avenue from Main Street to 2nd Street, and then 9th Street, which is Railroad to Ross Avenue. The other maps that Deacon prepared is, as we look at streets and where funding is going to happen, we always have that geographical aspect that we want to look at. And so when we look at just this renewal, most of it is in this central area of our community. But you can see it does cross for Ward 1, Ward 3, and Ward 4. Unfortunately for Ward 2, There was not any streets that were necessarily recommended. However, when I talked to Harry and Ray, we probably know of some overlay projects that are going to be needed in that area. So when we think through the presentation to the public, we might identify some of the different overlays around town that we feel very confident about and make it clear that, again, this isn't locked in, but this is where we think some overlays are going to happen. I do think probably on Maroon Drive that there's probably going to be some work, for example, and potentially craft as well. So there is going to be some surface treatments. It's just not selected from a reconstruction perspective. The other map that Deacon pulled together, again, it's a ward map, and if we kind of start at the top and work our way down, this is taking the first street trust fund and the second street trust fund to show kind of when you factor in both, we do pick up activity throughout the entire community type of situation. The only other item that I wanted to bring up that is slightly different from when we last met for the work session is it was clear that there's council was struggling a bit over the need to want to feel like we're doing something with Foster. And Foster's a hard street. It's a dirt street. I don't think anyone feels like we want to have dirt streets in our community. I had shared how the Citizen Street Committee struggled with that as well. When you have failing streets and you're getting pulled in a lot of different directions. Recognizing that Foster is still a priority and the struggle that exists there, we did some brainstorming and we feel like if Foster's not selected, which at this point it's not part of the recommendation, but council's getting ready to have a conversation. If Foster's not selected, what we would recommend is there's significant unknowns with Foster as it relates to stormwater. We don't have a design or engineering of it, and we don't know where the stormwater would go. We don't know if we would need to purchase property for detention. Harry has educated me on the difference of retention and detention. Detention facility, which means we may have to negotiate for property. If we can't get it for reasonable price, we may have to do condemnation. So there's a lot of unknowns related to this. And so what we would recommend is if there's still a desire to try to figure out a way to get Foster done, that when we sit down to look at the CIP for the next 5 years, that we look at within the next few years, putting money in the CIP to have a stormwater engineering design done. And then based on what that design is, we can look at if it does require us to purchase property for detention, if it does require other types of things, we could look at the CIP to better set up Foster for then another future project type of situation. So just trying to recognize that there's that bit of frustration of not being able to potentially get to Foster. We were trying to brainstorm to see if there's a way to help. And with that, Harry, is there anything to add?
I don't think so.
Okay, I think we're available for questions.
All righty, so we'll open up the mic. Councilor Jan Vigil.
Mayor, thank you. First of all, I need to apologize to council. I wasn't at the work session last week. It was my daughter's spring concert. I wasn't going to miss that, but I was around the first time we did this about 8 or 9 years ago, and just want to acknowledge Heather, Harry, everybody who has worked so hard on this over the years. I feel like local government is closest to the people, and we need to build trust with people. And I feel like through this project over the last 9 years, we've been able to build that trust with people. They know what that tax money's going to, and it's tangible. They can see it every day. They drive on it every day. So I think this is a great model for people across the country that you can do this and you can build trust and fix the darn roads. I'm not happy, and I really, really respect the group that we put together to identify these roads. And I'm not devaluing their work. I'm disappointed that Foster's not on this list. And this should be no surprise to you, council. I've been talking about Foster for 5 or 6 years, and I've been trying to come at every angle. I know you all have tried every angle to get there, to figure it out. I know you've talked to the property owners. I know we've sent letters. I know all that stuff. And I need you to know that I appreciate all that work. I can't, here's why I think we need to get Foster on this list somehow. It's, we have a huge housing project going up there, huge. It's that housing project is 43 acres, and when it's done, it's going to be 412 residential units, Tierra Azul. Okay, it's very close to the elementary school, and it's going to become a north-south thoroughfare out to the county. Now, if we look at our maps and our growth models, we know that all of the growth in our town is going to the southwest corner of the city and then out into the county. I can't be good with myself not fighting tonight to get Foster on there, because the people deserve it down there. You know, and you're going through the slides, and you talk about the poor roads or the failing roads, and they're this color or that color. Where's the color for dirt roads? Right? There's people who live in Ward 3, and we're not even talking about them. I think it's Stockton, the Stockton edition. They don't even have a road, and they've been that way for 30 years, 40 years. Now, it's the council back then who missed the boat and didn't get it done and couldn't figure it out. I don't want a council member of Alamosa 30, 40 years from now saying, why did they not figure this out and get Foster paved? So I'm wondering if there's a way that we get Foster up on that list. Thank you.
Councilor Carson?
I agree with you about that vision and that forward look. It's rough to think about. 'Cause yeah, I've heard, you know, since Charlie was here, I've heard the stories about Stockton, and since I've lived in Alamosa, I've understood that struggle back there. And with that being said, you know, we constantly talk about, and this isn't a word I use a lot, so I'm gonna go there today, but we constantly talk about equity, you know, equity. And as this list is right now, it's not a good equitable distribution of that. I am having a really hard time with going, I get inflation, I get all that, but I'm having a super hard time going from 7.5 miles to 1.87 miles. My big struggle with that is 3rd Street. That is the 3rd full rebuild in the same neighborhood in a period of 7 years, and that's not equitable distribution at all. And that street alone is killing our bang for the buck. And I get it. I get the infrastructure part. I get all that. And I get that it can be paid for through grants, but this is a street improvement tax. It's not a community sewer line improvement tax. And again, I understand there's other monies for that. But I've driven it 4 times in the last week, probably more than I have in a long time, just to make sure I'm not being too critical. And from a surface and aesthetic standpoint, it's a really nice road. So I'm having a hard time spending that money there. The Foster scenario, I get 100%. I do understand the detention pond and the risks there. But to concur with Councilor Vigil, it is going to grow there a lot, and it's going to be used a lot by people near the elementary. And so I'm having a hard time leaving it off. But more than that, for me, I'm having a hard time spending so much money on one street when, according to what somebody quoted earlier, we have a lot of roads. And I feel like that's just, we're focusing in on that neighborhood again. And that's great, you know, for that area. The university traffic, I was pretty amazed by the numbers there. But I just don't, I can't sell, it's not gonna be good in 20 years, or it's not gonna make it 15 years. I really, that's neither here nor there for me. Right now, today, we have roads that are in extreme disrepair. And spending $7 million on one road right now is just something I can't stomach supporting. So as this sits right now, it'll be a no vote for me. I'm just putting that out there. I also feel like it's being rushed. We've got another tax that's gonna be on the ballot at the same time. And I think it's gonna be hard to sell an equitable distribution of that citizen street tax the way it is right now.
Thank you, Councilor Carson. Councilor Jackie Vigil.
So being a representative of Ward 3, I agree with Jan Vigil saying that Foster Avenue should really be looked at in this plan. I kind of went out and I drove streets. I did drive 3rd Street a couple of times, and I thought, well, why is that even on the plan? Because the street, as I drove it and I saw it, didn't have very much disrepair to it. I mean, I know what you're saying about sewers and all that stuff, but I mean, the street itself is in good repair. So like I said, the last time during the work session, I'm disappointed that the dirt roads weren't part of the plan, the Stockton Road and all that area, but I think we definitely have to look at Foster, for sure.
Thank you, Councilor Jackie Vigil, Councilor Hensley, and then Councilor Jan Vigil.
So I would say, so I actually really support the street board. What their decision was, I look at it that it was a good system that we used last time, that the tax got passed. And I think part of it is because the street committee, which is from all different areas, they all picked these streets together and decided together to use this. I feel like from a transparency, that idea of building trust is I felt like it really worked using that street board. We said we had them. They've given us their feedback as all the effort that went into it. I personally feel we go with what they've said. I feel like there again, as a community, people see, okay, our community chose these streets. It wasn't city council who chose the streets, things like that. And it was a variety of people from all different areas, different walks of life, different careers, jobs, bikers, bus drivers, all of that type of thing. And so for me, one of the things I see is that we want to get this tax passed. And that to have the tax passed is, I feel like following the same system that we used the first time was successful. And so for me, that's why I would support going that route.
Thank you, Councilor Hensley. Councilor Jan Vigil.
Thank you, Mayor. In response to you, Ms. Hensley, and this was another point I wanted to bring up. That work session that we had 8 or 9 years ago, we sat here and we haggled. I remember it was me and Broyles and Carson and Grego, and we had some tough conversations. That list is presented to us by that committee, and we appreciate the list, no doubt, but it's not, in my opinion, not set in stone. And 8 years ago, we made some moves. We brought some things from the unfunded up, and I remember Grego and I, the stuff that's happening on West 6th and 7th and 8th, stuff that's happened the last year and this year and next year was at the end of the 10 years. And we weren't happy with that. So we were able to move that stuff up the list. That's my first point. Second point, I have a question for you. Harry, can you talk to me about El Rio as a full rebuild? I mean, that's kind of up where I live and I don't see it. Can someone tell me why El Rio is up there?
So the biggest concern on El Rio is one, it's the road is starting to break down, but rebuilding First Street, we've taken and repaired First Street, collected all that stormwater, but the extension of that stormwater goes down El Rio. We need to replace that stormwater to reduce the flooding we're getting on First Street. There's no way to do it without, because it's so narrow, just to go through and replace a storm line, there's not gonna be a road left. So part of that is helping the stormwater issues we have on First Street.
Thank you. And you probably said that last week and I wasn't here, so I apologize. And then can you tell me about Hunt? And I know, isn't like the first part of Hunt gonna be done with the grant? And then so the second part, can that not be done with that same grant?
No, I don't think that grant exists anymore. And so the first part for the grant is going to be between Sixth and Main.
Correct.
And then we're going to try to go a little bit north so we can get out of the CDOT right away.
Yep.
And not have to do some of those standards. But I don't think that type of grant is available type of thing. The street grants are really rare to come by. So it's not to say it won't happen again in the next 5 years or so, but it's not an every year thing.
Okay. Okay, and those are my comments for now.
Thank you, Counselor Yanavihil, Counselor Carson, and then Counselor Hensley.
To the point made earlier, I do agree that the bringing in of our citizens and creating the Citizen Street Committee was important in the passing of the first tax. But as I said back then, the only reason taxes don't pass is because people don't trust politicians. People don't trust what they say. The reason that tax passed is because we legally bound ourselves to this resolution we're talking about tonight. And this resolution we're talking about tonight is the key to getting it passed. Now, we don't have to all concur and we don't all have to be happy and you know, kumbaya about it, but it does have to be sellable to the people. And 3 full rebuilds in the same neighborhood, which is one of our fancier neighborhoods in town, is hard to sell. And it's gonna be hard to sell. Last time, the first list that the Citizen Street Committee brought to us, we hammered that for a while. It was probably I think about a month, 2 weeks. It was a while that we hammered that out. It was work. And I feel like this one, I almost feel like we're expected to rubber stamp this tonight, and I can't. I can't do that. I feel like we haven't worked on it enough. I had questions about Ross. It feels to me like they've repaved Ross 10 times since I've been on council. And maybe that's wrong. But again, a full rebuild on Ross to me in a neighborhood where there's 3 streets either way that are destroyed is tough. And I appreciate the work the Citizen Street Committee's done. I'm not knocking that at all, but again, it wasn't a rubber stamp last time and it shouldn't be a rubber stamp this time. It's that simple.
Thank you, Counselor Carson. Counselor Hensley.
So could you answer, so I know for the last one, we tweaked the order, which for me, that's totally fine, tweaking the order. Did we change any of the streets last time?
Not to my knowledge.
I didn't think so.
We did.
We brought some streets from unfunded up into the list. No doubt.
Yes, 100%.
I don't have the documentation to support that.
Okay, because I do remember us changing the order of streets, like doing some tweaking as far as
The order and then identifying specific overlay.
Right.
For the first few years.
Okay, so I stick with what I said.
Thank you, Counselor Hensley. Counselor Yanavihil.
Thank you, Mayor. Can
Then
you,
Counselor Carson after that.
how about the industrial park? Where did that fall?
So that again was struggled, like, so the first street committee struggled with that too, because it's terrible. It really is terrible. But it was so expensive and the traffic counts are so low. And you can't do an overlay on it. So it ranked high, but they couldn't justify doing it because of the lower traffic counts. But as we talked through, like the foster and those things, and we explained how an SID doesn't work there because of the large tracks and all of that. One of the committee members said, in the industrial parks, it's a much smaller tracks. So maybe that's something we should explore, is looking at an improvement district for that area.
I'd be totally cool with that if we try to look at an SID in the industrial park. That's a great idea. And then, sorry, Harry, one more thing. Can you talk to me about Cascade up here on State and like up by the bridge area? Didn't we just overlay that a few years ago?
So I think what the intent is for that is more to improve the south end of Cascade as it approaches the bridge, to make it more pedestrian friendly and safe.
So more like sidewalk.
Yeah.
Going north-south, like as you approach the bridge.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
That was a big concern as people are coming around that corner, trying to create more of a pedestrian corridor for safety reasons.
Couldn't we just achieve that with some sidewalk?
So that's why it's blue. So it's not an
Oh, yeah,
overlay.
you're right. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And then just to point out to Mr. Carson, Ross is also blue. That's just a surface treatment. But I agree with you. I feel like Ross has been, according to the map here.
Yeah, there's a whole thing around that we had to go over last time. It's a surface treatment with additional stuff. It's a full rebuild in some of the street, correct? Ross?
I don't think so.
For this proposal here,
Yeah.
it's just a surface overlay.
That's not what okay, I won't haggle that. I thought it was a full rebuild. To your point earlier, and I'm fine being wrong, Heather, but some of the streets in the third ward, Charlie streets, were the ones that we had to bring up from unfunded to get them done at all in that list. We did move State quite a bit up on the timeline. So there was quite a bit of shifting that we did in there. But again, I'm fine being wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure it was a third ward that we had to bring up several streets from unfunded.
I agree with you 100%. And I'm gonna stand on this, guys. I want to get Foster up in that list somewhere. Thank you. And if this is presented tonight the way it is, I'm gonna vote no.
Councilor Hensley? You had your light on, I'm sorry. That's all, okay. Oh, Councilor Krebs.
Thank you, Mayor. Would it be possible to get a cost analysis of Foster as it compares to Third Street?
So that was part of the spreadsheet, and so we do have the cost analysis for Foster. Yes.
Is it comparable to the cost of Third Street?
It is less expensive.
Harry, could you re-educate me, please, on Third Street?
The stormwater system within Third Street is failing, so we need to go in and replace it. And one of the things about replacing a stormwater system is it's not only the main trunk down the road, it's every intersection, every curb, every inlet. So you're essentially tearing down all the road with the exception of just in between the intersections. There's a little bit of asphalt left. So the stormwater is failing in that area.
And I'll be honest, council, I'm struggling with this one. I totally understand. I totally get it. But then when I look at traffic patterns, Third Street is the most driven one of the two and will continue to be the most driven one of the two. So I'm trying really hard to find a compromise on this one of where we can salvage the deterioration of Third Street, but still be able to give Foster what it needs, at least the beginnings of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Krebs. Councilor Yandere Hill, then Councilor Carson.
And Councilor Krebs, I'm with you. Okay, there's a set of apartments on Foster that were built, I think, within the last 5 or 6 years. Didn't we have a pretty good discussion about where the water would come off of that, like stormwater and that? Isn't there a retention pond back there? Couldn't we divert water back into there?
So the detention pond back there already serves for the apartments, part of the Tierra Azul development, and there's a capacity limit within that detention pond that it has, but also that lift station that goes to the Hickory Jackson ditch that has a limitation. So there might be a little bit left for that area, but it's not enough for the full cluster build.
So, I feel like, so that's good to know. Thank you, Harry. Also, there's property owners that we've talked to and we've tried and we've communicated to them how much it would be, because a lot of those property owners own a lot of part of that. Their property's right up next to Foster, so they would have to pay a ton to get this SID done. So I get that. I know they probably said no because it's just too much. I get that. And you mentioned that right now, Third Street is the busier of the two, correct? And if we're calculating growth and people moving and the growth in that part of town, I would venture to say that's probably going to catch up in the near future.
Councilor Carson?
How did, and this is just out of curiosity, I'm not necessarily trying to sway myself here. I'm just curious. How did Third Street score in the software? If you don't factor in the storm.
And Deacon, I'm gonna look, I feel like I brought everything but that spreadsheet on how, okay, thank you. So could we do a different question and come back to that on?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
That's just curious. I'm just curious to see how it scored, because again, I drove it several times to make sure I wasn't being critical, and
Well, I just want to point out, I think anyone, including on the street committee, when you drive it doesn't look the same as the other streets that have been identified because the condition is better. The problem is when we explain what's going to happen to it when we fix the stormwater, it won't look like it looks now, type of thing.
I get that. My issue is that this is the reason when we were having these conversations in 2018, it was about immediate need for the city and you know how we hadn't been able to do anything. And so we came up with this plan. We worked it hard. It worked out. We got the trust of the citizens, and we did that because we were able to make it palatable, to make it, you know, sellable to the community. Again, I'm having a hard time from a citizen standpoint rebuilding in the same neighborhood again completely, especially when it's not Second Street. Second Street was pretty beat up when you drove it. I mean, it was trashed. You know, First Street was really rough, but this again, trying to convince myself to be okay with it, I just couldn't, guys. I'm sorry. It's just.
And please know, I'm not trying to talk you into it, but when you describe what Second Street was like, that is what Third Street is going to be like before the 10 years.
You get it. No,
Okay.
I get that. That was, I guess I digressed there, but right now, I think that we have streets that aren't going to make it, you know, nearly as long as Third Street is in this same scenario. So I just don't see the need for it now. I don't even see the need for it in 10 years. But again, we've had the same type of sewer line failures on Main Street, and we've made them work. We've repaired them. We've gotten through those. I just feel like the need and the working and the scenario of this bill, the whole mantra behind it is trying to get as many repairs as we can. And going from 7.5 to 1.87, primarily because of the cost of that one street, is tough.
So Deacon, do you have what group ranking Third Street was? I think that was what your question was, correct?
Into other streets that were beat up. Again, not factoring in the sewer part. Can't
Sure.
say that.
So the group ranked Third Street is number 2. So 10th Street was the first ranked.
No, not the group. Software.
Oh, the software.
Oh, sorry.
The majority of it is ranked as good. There's a few blocks that are fair. So from excellent, good, fair. So most of it is in that good range. There's about 3 blocks that are fair.
Thank you.
Councilor Hensley?
So I would just say so I guess my question is to Harry. I know that there's been a lot of work already done on Third Street with failed stuff. And so do you think that the system is going to last another 10 years?
That's a tough one to answer,
Okay.
right? What we're currently seeing, it doesn't indicate that it will, but we have other areas in town that have the same issues. So sometimes you think you're gonna get by for a little longer and it fails that next day. Other times we're waiting for a failure and it just continues to go.
And so if and as it fails, the street would then be like Second Street.
Yeah.
And
But a little bit worse in a sense, or maybe it's better. It's just more expensive in a sense. You're rebuilding intersections with manholes and the inlets and the curbs and stuff. So that it's not just fixing the storm line, it's all the laterals and stuff. So you'll have a more extensive patch.
And this is, I honestly don't know the answer to this, because Third Street's long, and that's why it's taking up the chunk of money that it is. If that sewer system starts to fail in one area, are we able to fix that area? Or is it once it starts to fail in an area, the whole thing needs to start being fixed?
No, certainly it can be fixed as needed. So best practice, it would be if you're experiencing at least a few failures within one block, try to do the whole block, but it wouldn't have to be from, Richardson all the way to State.
Is that sewer or stormwater?
I'm sorry, stormwater. I used the wrong word. Thank you.
It's okay, because a lot of times when you talk about, you got your sanitary sewer and storm sewer, so they're both called the same.
Harry, in the work session, we talked a lot about inflation and how the cost would be a certain dollar amount, maybe projected out 5 to 10 years from now. Can you all explain how that may affect if council doesn't decide to go with Third Street, how much more it may cost? Because I know we had some.
I think we were looking at an 8%. Some years it's more, some years it might be less, but overall, when we trended the construction, we felt that 8% was a safe number to compound our construction numbers. Is that the question you were asking?
In dollar
sir?
amounts. Like, I think, was there like an amount that we thought that?
Oh, so if we look specifically at Third Street, how expensive it is in 2030 versus at the end of it?
Yes.
Okay, so just take one segment of Third Street, Deacon, and turn on your mic, please.
So just kind of as a rule of thumb, the cost between 2030 and 2039 is about double for whatever project based on what the inflation rates that we see. So just taking, for example, Third Street from Edison to San Juan, in 2030, that project costs just under $700,000 for that block. In 2039, that project costs almost 1.4 million. So just a smidge under it, almost exactly double.
Thank you. Councilor Hensley.
I just have one more question. So I think there was discussion that if Foster is chosen, you're saying about the price, but stormwater comes into it again, I think, for Foster. And you were saying that if Foster was chosen, then the thing that we were saying in regards to that the city covers all the underground would have to be adjusted or adapted because it would be so expensive, correct? So would that then?
Did the estimate that we did for Foster have the stormwater included for that?
We built in a placeholder of about $200,000.
Okay, so yes, so who knows if 200's enough, but yes, if we pull Foster in, I would need to amend the language in the resolution to make it clear that the sales tax will only cover the street portion of the stuff, except for Foster, where if there is a bit bigger, not all the utilities, but just that stormwater aspect.
Councilor Cripps.
Thank you, Mayor. I think the street committee did an amazing job, and thank you, Deacon, for your knowledge. It's so much fun to sit here and look at data. Seriously, I'm such a geek. But I think part of our responsibility as we're reviewing what the street committee has done as a council is not just to look at, and because they went out and they drove the streets, is not to recognize the ones that are currently deteriorating and the ones that need maintenance, I think we also have to keep in mind the forward movement of the city and the growth that's coming and the growth that's going to be expected. And we have to try and factor that in as much as we can on this. And so my question to, I guess, to Heather would be, what would be our next step if, as a council, we decided to move Foster up? Would we be rejecting the entire thing and going not to the back to the drawing board, but tweaking it? Or what would be the next steps? And maybe I wasn't here for the first one, so maybe.
So we like to have plan A, B, and C.
Okay.
So we have plan C for you tonight, which is the resolution if we were to remove portions of Third Street, put in Foster, but then whatever that difference is to do those blocks of Third Street. So we've got the alternate resolution that we could share with you. So the resolution is exactly the same as on how it's set up. All the other streets are exactly the same. But what we did is where Third Street used to be, we put Foster. And then just one second. You have it up? Oh. Do I go back to AV? Okay, can you make it a little bit bigger? Okay, so what you'll see is in that first grouping, Foster is where Third Street used to be. And then in the second grouping, we would finish out Foster. We would be able to do some of Third Street, and then it finishes out the same way. And then as you guys were talking, and it did remind me that we would need to use some of it for the stormwater for Foster. I changed under section 4, where we had the language that said it can only be used for street improvements. I put except for the stormwater portion of Foster Avenue. So the one that was attached to your agenda, it's exactly the same in every other way other than replacing Third Street with Foster and yet still keeping some of Third.
And all the other streets are.
All the other streets are exactly the same.
Thank you. I'll let council discuss that.
Mayor, can I?
Yes, go ahead, Councilor. Young, Beal.
Thank you, Mayor. I think that's fantastic. We finally get Foster done. We still show some love to Third Street. And council, if we're paving Foster as far south as we can, that could spur the county to pave the rest of it down because it gets into the county. And now you have a fully paved road all the way down to the county line.
It's just to 8th, right? We have it just to 8th.
Yeah,
Okay. I just want to make sure.
Yep.
Okay.
Councilor Hensley?
I just have a question. So back to Third, where the potential failures could happen. Is that the area where you foresee the failures to happen? Edison to, what is it?
Richardson.
Richardson to Edison? That's why I'm asking which one, because there's.
Solution red. Third, Richardson, yeah, that would be correct. Well, that's the leading edge of it. That's where we would want to start.
So I guess where I'm covering, wanted to just make sure. So if we went this part of it, which I think has some good merits to it, what I want to, I guess, cover is if there's failures. Let's say a failure happens before Third starts and it's at a different section. Do you see what I'm saying? So then we'd all of a sudden have a poor road on Third versus a good or a fair, correct? Would that be what would happen? Is if there was a failure and you had to tear up the street, then that road would become a poor part of the road, like when you rank them?
The patch would indicate that it's in a poor condition. What you patch is hopefully in a better shape than the rest of the road. What happens though is you get settling, and so it would degrade the value of it a little bit. Yes.
Okay, and so at this point, you don't know where the failure could happen on third if it were to happen?
Correct.
Okay, I was just seeing if there was something.
And
Hold on real quick. To fix that, we could, this would be some smithing on Eric's part, but we could make the Third Street section contingent upon that. If something were to happen there, then that section that we voted in would move to the section that's failed. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, so what I was gonna share is when Deacon and I were working on this, there were 10 blocks of Third Street. And so because there is a cost difference between Foster and the Third Street, this allows us, as we have it written, to do 7 out of those 10. So it's just leaving 3 blocks. Fingers crossed that all the other stuff comes out, but it's just leaving 3 blocks. And so I feel like from an accountability perspective, being specific, since we can get that many blocks, is better served.
Okay,
I'm good with that.
all right. So, all right. Go ahead.
I have one question for
Sure.
Harry. Are you comfortable with it? Is your crew comfortable?
Yeah, I'm good with it. Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you.
So has everyone had a chance to speak? Anybody else have any comments before someone makes a motion? Okay. We gotta move this along. We gotta move it along. Somebody wanna
So
make a?
what I would say is if someone does make a motion, that it either indicate the resolution that was originally attached that does not include Foster, or the resolution is for the amended resolution to include Foster, just so there can be clear language in that.
Okay, Council Yanvio.
Thank you, Mayor. I will make a motion that we approve the resolution on the streets that includes Foster.
And just so the record's clear, that also includes reducing the number of blocks of Third Street then that are covered to offset the Foster cost.
So I move that we go with the option that includes Foster and reduces the amount of Third Street.
Okay,
I'll second.
okay. We have a motion and a second.
Say something or is it? Say something?
Oh, don't be about, motion and second now for discussion. Go ahead.
Just want to add, though, that what I do like about this is that basically it's what the street committee said minus 3 blocks of Third Street, correct?
Essentially, yes.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
All right, thank you. We have a motion. We have a second. No further discussion. Please start voting.
The motion carried unanimously.
Okay, thank you. Oh,
I just want to say thank you for knowing us so well already and knowing what direction we were probably gonna go and not for nothing. I'm thanking the street committee. Thank you guys. Thank you, Harry, for your work on that and your guys being able to shift. So I really appreciate that. Thank you.
thank you,
Harry.
Council.
Yeah, if I could, I appreciate the acknowledgement of the work that Heather and I've done in the committee, but I've honestly, probably 5%, 10% of the effort combined compared to what Deacon had put in as far as man hours, just weeks on end. And I mean, you'd be scared to throw jerky underneath his door just because he just locked himself in his office and it's just endless amount of hours. And so big kudos to Deacon. I mean, I don't know that we could have put it together without him.
Thank you, Deacon. Great job, everyone. Way to go, council, and way to talk it out. Okay, let's talk about the next item on the agenda. Okay, let me see. Okay, first reading of ordinance number 13-2026, an ordinance concerning the appointment of Indigent Defense Counsel.
Council, this is first reading for an ordinance that becomes necessary or desirable anyway, because of a recent House Bill 26-1134, which requires that municipal independent defense counsel be paid an hourly rate at least as much as the state rate for alternate defense counsel. Of course, the state rate for alternate defense counsel is set by the people who live up in the Front Range, which has very little to do with what we are doing here in the San Luis Valley and specifically with the city, within the city of Alamosa. However, that new state statute dovetails into the existing state statute governing municipal courts. And that existing state statute says this statute governs municipal courts except that home rule cities and towns, if they have different charter or ordinance provisions, will supersede the provisions of this statute, except for very few things that they wall off that home rule also has to comply with. The payment of independent defense counsel is not walled off. So that is one where we can supersede these Front Range mandates if we have an ordinance or charter provision that provides for doing so. What this ordinance does is create that ordinance provision, and we are a home rule city, so that would supersede the state requirement and would allow us to follow the purchasing guidelines that we have set forth already in our ordinances for how we procure services.
Okay. Council?
I will make a motion that we approve the ordinance on first reading and set for a public hearing on May 20th, 26 at 7 p.m. or soon thereafter as the matter may be heard.
Second.
We have a motion and we have a second. Do we have any further discussion? If not, please start voting. Ms. Martinez?
The motion carried unanimously.
Thank you. Okay. That brings us to the next item on the agenda, first reading and introduction of ordinance number 12-2026, an ordinance amending the Unified Development Code with respect to lighting, maximum and lit signage.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of council. So to clarify, what we're proposing this evening rolls back the strictness of what was adopted in our original dark sky ordinance. So all of the things that we're proposing tonight are more lenient, more business friendly, but do lift our restrictions that made our skies darker, just to be aware of what we're trading. So just to make it really, really simple, we're making things brighter. We're going from 500 lumens to 1100 lumens. We're making things warmer. So we're going from more of a orangey light to a whiter light because Planning Commission took the recommendation of council at the Planning Commission meeting. And instead of going with staff recommendation to keep 3000 kelvins, they're asking to bump it up to 5000 kelvins. And then finally, we're adding a new section of the dark sky code that will allow public lighting for parks and streets to go up to 15,000 lumens. The new CDOT lights in town are 14,000 lumens for comparison. So those are the things that are changing. I would also like to address the electronic message boards as already addressed by the city manager. We will be bringing that to council, but it'll be part of general housekeeping code amendments because it's just language that's kind of unrelated to the dark sky codes. So I'm here for any questions.
Councilor Krebs?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a really quick question. As it relates to the lighting, a little bit brighter, but the direction of the lighting stays the same under the code. So like the equipment, having it point down and go more out than up, that kind of thing. All right, thank you.
Yes.
Councilor Carson?
I'm all questioned out on this one, so I'm gonna go ahead and make a recommendation that council approve ordinance, or I'm gonna make a motion that council approve ordinance 1226 on first reading and set the matter for second reading and public hearing on May 20th, 26 at 7 p.m. or as soon thereafter as the matter may be heard.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Real quick, Mayor.
Yes.
Just want to acknowledge your work and listening to folks. We see it. The city council sees this. Just a quick reminder for everybody that 2 years ago, we brought this up and no one showed up to the meeting. But then you reached out to business folks like Mr. Billings. Mr. Billings, thank you for giving us your input. You're the expert. And we took that and we've made changes and we're listening to people. We're not ramrodding this down people's throats. Thank you.
And then I would just add, this is not final. We're also having a public hearing that's coming up as well, to where the public can come and make additional comments at that time. Okay, motion, second. No further discussion. Please start voting. Okay.
The motion carried unanimously. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. Thank you, council. That brings us to committee reports. Do we have any committee reports tonight? Councilor Krebs?
I will make this as fast as possible, guys, I promise. But all my meetings happen at the same time of the month, so. So the library board met, they're going over renovation plans. They're doing an hours study to see if they can change some of the hours to make the library more accessible for people. And they're also updating their local history room. So they're getting rid of some of the redundant history that's in there, keeping the good stuff, and then maybe trying to repurpose that room for other projects. Let's see. The senior citizens had their meeting. They're gearing up for the summer, so look for more events happening on the weekends at nights for senior citizens. The SLV COG and the SLV DRG is continuing, working toward their enterprise zone designation, and they're also continuing the momentum on their GIS project. And then the one I'm saving the best for last on this one is the Alamosa Creates, the Arts Committee. They had a meeting a couple of weeks ago, and it was really exciting. We did our usual because we're working on getting ready to apply to the state and getting ready to, we're looking forward to the Art Fest coming up in September and everything. But one of the really things that we were excited about was the alleyway renovations. And so we got to see like a little presentation from the city about what their plans were for the alleyway and the activation and everything. And that included Centennial Park and all the flags. But what made me really excited about this is it wasn't just our committee. We invited the business owners out that are affected on that alleyway. We invited stakeholders. I mean, I think Ruthie was even there from the Green Spot, because her presence and her commitment to Centennial Park is so prevalent with the flags. And so we wanted to show her the pictures of all the flags and all the improvements and everything. So we got a lot of good feedback, a lot of good improvements, and we were just able to gauge the excitement of the group. And so I'm just really happy to see that project moving forward and seeing what becomes of it. So thanks. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilor Krebs. Councilor Yanviel.
Thank you, Mayor. Mine'll be quick too. I went to the comp plan meeting last Monday. We're gonna vote on a mural and the color scheme on the mural. We identified, there was a lot of specifics. We identified specific groups, peoples, churches, service clubs who can help get the comp plans message out and getting people involved and trying to touch every person in Alamosa to get involved. So we identified different groups and the different people in those groups who can help us do that. You may be getting a call, some of you guys. And talked about that first big kickoff, which will be at the Sunshine Festival in June. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Yanviel. Don't see any other lights, so we'll go down to staff announcements.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll save you a trip, Harry. Harry was gonna just make sure, in case everyone didn't see their emails, that CDOT is gonna be beginning work on the bridge. In the past, when they've done work, it's maybe for a few days so that the interruption to traffic is not very long. But it sounds like this could be 4 to 5 weeks, to where it's reduced down to one lane and those types of things. So they are urging local travelers to try to use, Highway 17 to then the North River Road and all of that kind of stuff. So, just a heads up, that's coming. And you know, as always, it's painful, but obviously I think their intent is to try to make sure that the bridge is secure and safe. And so that is important. Oh, you were gonna do 12th Street too, or not? Not this time. Then we also, I just wanted to remind everyone, I know we did the proclamation for Police Week, and that's obviously timed when we have our fallen police officers memorial. So that is next Wednesday. They arrive at the station and start around 5:15 to 5:30. So it's always a very touching ceremony and a reminder for what that profession gives to our communities. And that's all I have from a staff update.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Sanchez. That brings us to the last item on the agenda, council comments. Do we have any council comments?
I have a council comment or question. I haven't looked at my phone. I was going to, but do we have a work session after that next week?
Yeah.
You do have a work session. I think you're interviewing applicants for advisory boards.
So,
My comment is, or my question is, next year, can we please try and not schedule a work session on that day?
We actually tried not to, but the CML district meeting, the spring meeting got scheduled on the 27th, which we originally had for you guys to have the work session. And then since that got scheduled, we had to move it up.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just
we
the big-
realized when they have the fellowship afterwards with the meal and the ability to interact, we intentionally tried not to. So if you want to send a mean letter to CML, we would support that.
I just don't remember us never having a work session on that day.
We have previously too. I think we were trying to be more intentional this year.
Thank you, guys.
okay, I don't see any other lights, on, so I'll just go ahead and wrap things up. I want to commend council and also staff for, having open, honest, sincere dialogue and conversation on two issues that are dear to the hearts of council and staff and the community. The lighting issue, it seems like tentatively for now, we have common ground and found that balance of compromise by having discussion with the business community, and also discussions with staff as well. And then you all did a real good job of just having open, honest dialogue with staff, about the street sales tax list and including Foster, which you all were respectful and thoughtful of one another without cutting people off, which means a lot. So really appreciate that effort that you all put into it, and appreciate staff finding that compromise to make it good for everyone. So with that being said, meeting adjourned.